And welcome back. Well, you can spend your whole life saving money, investing it wisely, but if you need long-term care, it doesn't take long for those funds to dwindle. So joining us now is Dan Kraus from Kraus Estate Planning and Elder Care Law. He's going to chat about Medicaid planning as a part of your estate planning. Good to have you here again.
It's great to be here, Tiffany. Thank you.
Yeah, and you have some exciting news for people because there's a new law that just went through, right?
Yes, so the new law was signed into effect on last Thursday, so a week ago today. I'm still studying it. We haven't got our procedures in place yet, but people in Wisconsin can now do remote witnessing and remote notarization for estate planning documents. Now they changed the law a little bit during COVID to allow people to do remote notarizations for non-estate planning documents, but all estate planning documents like wills, trusts, powers of attorney had to be witnessed in the room, the same room that the person was in when they signed the document. Now, as of last week, we can start to do this remote notarization and remote witnessing. So people who are homebound or in a nursing home, or maybe they have health concerns and they don't want to be in the room with other people who, you know, they might be very precariously ill. So that they can still sign documents as long as we follow the procedures within the law. So that's very exciting, and it will allow more people to sign documents as long as they're mentally competent towards the end of life. Then they don't have to arrange to either transport themselves or get someone else to come into their room. So
I can see a lot of benefits to what you do and how you help people with that. You know, we teased earlier in the week or yesterday, I think it was, just about the fact, can the nursing home take your house? And I think this is something that can really probably freak people out. Can they? Can they take your house?
Well, so here's the thing. Nursing homes are not evil things.
No.
They're businesses, and they do great work. They do wonderful, they do God's work. They take care of people at the end of life when people are unable to take care of themselves.
Agreed.
But it's very expensive. So people talk about the nursing home taking your home. Nobody's going to take your home, but what they do is they provide services, and they're expensive services, and oftentimes people need to sell their home in order to afford the services. So that's why people say the nursing home can take your home. It doesn't really take your home, but they charge for services. You need to pay because oftentimes there's no other way to pay besides out of your pocket until you are destitute. So yes, in one way you can say that the nursing home can take your home, but really they're not taking your home. They're just providing a service that's expensive. And so the home is a lot of times where people find the money in order to pay.
The asset. So a lot of people know about Medicaid in general. Sort of the process to qualify for that is like you have to spend down, right? You've got to kind of spend down until you have no assets left. So when it comes to doing that, are you saying that there may be another way to get to Medicaid or another way to protect yourself?
So Medicaid is the program that will pay for long-term care, nursing care, assisted living, and you're exactly right. You can't qualify unless you have low assets. Yes, you can pre-plan. If you do it at least 5 years in advance, you can take your home, you can take other assets and shift them into a irrevocable trust that's specifically designed for this. And as long as it's in there under the control of your family members, it's not countable as an asset if you apply for Medicaid 5 years after that. So pre-planning is important. People shouldn't wait till the last minute, but it's not too late even if the person is already in a nursing home to do some sort of planning.
So it's not enough just to put your child's name on the mortgage, right? It's got to be more of a trust situation.
Well, a trust situation is better. Sometimes people actually just transfer the house over to the child. They just say, here, child, you can have the house. There are some problems with that, tax problems and sometimes liability problems. If the child gets divorced, say, now your house is intermingled with this divorce. If the child gets sued or goes bankrupt or, God forbid, dies, now your house is going to be transferred again and you don't have control over that. So with the trust, it's more stable, it's more secure. It also gets a step up in basis, which is a tax thing that we don't really need to go into today, but it's much better for your kids tax-wise for them to inherit the house through the trust instead of you giving it to them during their lifetime.
Okay. So I think that's going to ring, you know, with a lot of people because they're probably doing so many of these things wrong because they haven't really consulted. A lot of people think, okay, well, I've got my bank accounts and my 401k beneficiaries set up correctly. Is that enough? That protects things then, doesn't it? That's what they're going to wonder.
Right. So it doesn't. As long as you have assets in your name or under your control, then you will not be qualified for Medicaid unless they're down below $2,000. So,
$2,000.
yeah, $2,000. There are some exemptions. Your home is exempt, so you can keep your home and get on Medicaid. The problem with that is they will come and they put a lien on your home after you die to repay Medicaid. That's why we like to have people put their homes into these irrevocable trusts, as well as the other assets, because if you're not down below $2,000, you're not going to get Medicaid to pay for your care.
We're almost out of time, but just address as quickly as you can people who are married, right? Like if you've got somebody who needs to go in a nursing home, the other person doesn't. How does that affect the spouse if you have to spend down on these assets?
Right. So the person that needs care has to get down below 2,000. So in Wisconsin, we have marital property law. Everything is seen to be owned by both people, but when you get to Medicaid, you have to separate the property. So the one that needs care is down to 2,000. The one that doesn't need care can keep up to 154,000, and that goes up every year by a few $1,000s. But that's a maximum. The person that doesn't need care can spend down as low as 50,000 before the person is qualified for Medicaid. It depends on how much assets they have when they start the process, whether they get to keep the full 154 or only keep the 50 or below.
And as quickly as you can, if someone has dementia, because we teased that before in their family, anything they need to do right now?
Yes, if somebody has dementia and they still have some capacity, they need to sign estate planning documents as soon as possible before they lose capacity. What's capacity? That's a little bit more nuanced, and we don't really have time for that. But if the person knows who their family is and they understand what they own, they can sign estate planning documents, and they should sign it as soon as possible before they go down that hill and they can no longer sign things.
It's hard because people take a long time to acknowledge dementia and really come to grips with it. So it's such an important conversation. I'm going to give all your information because I'm sure there's a lot of people who have so many questions. So thank you so much for being here, Dan.
Yes, it's a pleasure.